I'm standing at the Bulleteer Customs and I have with me Ricardo, the chief designer of Bulleteer Customs. The bike over here, again the #1 spot in Rider Mania last year for custom built bikes. How cool is that? So tell us a little bit more about this.
Well, basically, this is a 500, and we've built this bike in memory of the prisoners of war and the guys missing in action. It was actually built for a guy whose uncle was actually lost in the war. So this was a very meaningful build to us, and it was just deserving that we got the first place for it. It's got a lot of more than what it looks like. It's pretty well good to be riding this bike. The dynamics and everything are just spot on.
Right, so let's get a little bit more into the dynamics. What is the kind of engine that's used, and a little bit more about specifications?
This one was a Machismo 500. It's the guy who owned this bike. He wanted to keep it as a family heirloom. So he wanted particularly this bike to be modified and revered and immortalized, and that's what we did with it. So he rides it a lot, but he parks it in his hall room. That's where it is, next to the coffee table and everything. And he doesn't spare any chance about talking about it and telling people about it. It's like a member of his family. So I'm glad I could give him that.
Right. So when a customer comes like that, and if there is an emotional connect with the bike, what is it that it takes from your side to build something that will please him at the end of it? It must be a very challenging job.
Well, I feel if the customer really likes a bike and he wants to, revere it and things like that, I think that's exactly what I need, for all the creative juices to flow and for me to go totally crazy about, building the best thing I've ever built so far. I look at all projects like that. It's the best thing I've ever built so far. But when a guy likes his bike already, it's a little bit easier. It's a lot more, of those crying moments when you get inspired and when you hand it over to him and he falls in love and, all those things. It's brilliant. There's nothing.
It's like a Bollywood movie, except there's no actress there. There is instead a bike.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's just a bike in question.
Roads, yeah.
Talking about this particular bike, what is the pricing point that we are looking at?
Well, this particular bike is it's a special build. Our normal builds are between around 2 to 2.5. Okay. So this would cost around 2.5. Okay. So basically that's our top end.
Wow. Now let's go to the next one. This one looks sleek and really, really sexy. So tell us, why have you decided to put this one here, to place this one right in the center as far as the Bangalore Auto Show is concerned?
Well, to be really honest, this is the bike that recently rolled out of our place. In fact, we finished assembly just about 2 days before the show. And we called it Siberian because I wanted it to look very minimalistic, but yet very powerful. And that's why I chose Siberian, and that's why I chose the white. This white is really special. It's a pearl white. It takes about 16 days just to get this bike painted because of the amount of layers. But when you look at it, it's just a white. So the only time anybody would know that it's a special white is if they hear what I'm saying right now.
It's something very simple, but that's what makes it very, very attractive.
Yeah, I like it a lot because there's absolutely no frills. If you notice, there are no mirrors on the bike, yes, and no fancy stuff.
I was actually going to ask you about that. Why are there no mirrors on the bike?
Well, we never look behind.
Okay.
Always look ahead,
Yes.
or rather, always stay in the present. Yeah.
But, we are talking about customization of bikes. So tell us, what is the market like in India as far as customization is concerned?
Well, I'm really happy that the market's opening up. I'm really happy that a lot of people are getting passionate about owning a two-wheeler, and even more so an exclusive two-wheeler. They know that there are other players in the market and international brands and things like that. But again, their service comes with international standard servicing costs. So.
Of course, when we're talking about the international market, it also means more maintenance. So tell us, what about maintenance of your bike?
Well, these bikes, everybody in India love an Enfield. When you're riding an Enfield around and something goes wrong with it, you've got like a million people asking you if you need any help. So that, for one, is the starting point. The rest of the things is the spare parts for an Enfield have been around for ages. And so the costs are also pretty negligible when you consider them with imports. So maintenance is about 1/10 of the cost, and keeping a bike the way it looks when you bought it is actually the challenge that people face, and I think this does justice to it.
Wow! If you could also tell us a little bit about the pricing point of this bike and how many days would it take to customize something like this?
Well, this one is actually a basic mod from our top end range, okay. So it costs about 2 lakhs to build this bike. The time period is about 90 days, but we have something called a waiting list right now. So that, bookings right now available for September. But yeah, I'd be glad to build a few more like this.
Yeah, Yeah, they look really sleek, but my personal favorite, honestly, and at the cost of sounding very, very superficial right now, I love this candy orange. I mean, how cool is that? So, what is the story behind this bike? And tell us a little bit about why the color.
Well, basically, I'm normally the one for a lot of philosophical explanations, but with this bike, it's just candy, man. It's just eye candy, and I love the Murcielago from Lamborghini. It's a muscle car, and I was inspired by that. The color exactly is the Murcielago color. It's actually a candy orange on a gold paint job. So yeah, it's a 240 rear tire. It's a Pirelli Night Dragon, the fattest ones that we fit today on the bikes. And this one was the second place at the Rider Mania. I don't know, I love it. If you ask me, it's the first place even right now.
So, you say this would actually overtake your other bike there, in your
Sure
opinion?
it would, but the judges thought otherwise, so yeah.
But that's amazing. Number one spot and the number two spot at Rider Mania. That must be really, really flattering. How do you take all these compliments?
Well, I just don't take it. It has a very adverse effect. So I just rather hear it, smile about it, and then get back to work.
Right. But tell us a little bit more about this bike. What's the price point like for this one?
This is basically one of our top ends. This one costs about 2.4 for the build. So this, you either give us the bike. If you give us the bike, it's about 2.4. If you want us to provide the bike, it's about 3.6. So that's what it is. But then again, I wouldn't be building replicas of any of these. So I need to get something out of the customer, and that's not the bill. But basically a little bit of what he is and who he is and what he likes and what.
I think that's the whole point about customization, right? That your bike has to be a reflection of you. Is that what you look at? How do you sort of bring in that reflection of the customer into the bikes when you're customizing them?
Well, basically this guy is he's a tough guy. He's business wise, and as a person himself, his attitude is really tough, really suave, sophisticated. And he doesn't really conform to the regular norms of life and going about things. So I built him this bike in tribute to who he is.
So I think the Ricardo here can actually read personalities as well, since he's building bikes based on the owner's personality. So if you had to build me a bike, what would it be?
Well, I'll have to take a session with you like how you are with me right now, interview you for a bit, and then I'll be able to create your dream come true.
Right. But tell us a little bit about the auto show today. What is the Bangalore market like, and do you get a lot of inquiries from young men?
Young men, old men, young men's wives. I mean, they want to get their hubby something like this. And when they hear the cost of it, and especially after hearing all the rest of the costs, they're the ones convincing their husbands to get one of these. So I like that about the Bangalore market. And otherwise, it's just great when someone comes up to you and says, asks you whether this is an import. And I say, no, it's built in Bangalore. And then there's a sensation of pride that I can see in their face, and I want to shake my hand. And well, that's what I love most about the show today.
Absolutely. And what's amazing is that competitive pricing, on top of that good maintenance, you don't have to spend too much on maintenance. Plus, it's a part of our personality. Those are three top reasons why you should be approaching Ricardo here in order to customize your bike. Any final thoughts, anything that you would like to say to all our viewers who are watching us live right now?
Well, I'd like to say if you really own a bike, it's not to get from point A to point B. It's about getting there in style, getting there, announcing your attitude, announcing your presence and things like that. For that, you need a custom. Every bike deserves to be a custom.
All right, like a small confession here, I own a Dio, and that's a part of me. So I'm going to talk to Ricardo about how I can customize my Dio and get from one place to another in style, so that the next time I'm anchoring the auto show, I arrive in style. So I'm going to continue chatting with him. You find out what else is happening around us.